Speak to the degree to which the film is about queerness and queer men and that subtext within a Western, and what it's like for you to play that kind of character.
So it's a very complex character, and that's one of many, many elements of who he is, for sure, and a very important one. And I think it speaks to a time of intolerance and a lack of acceptance where people couldn't live any kind of authentic self. They had to bury that and cloak it in a masculinity which, while not necessarily inherent on the face of it, became so. You know, he is who he is. It's not just 25 years of dressing up. It's who he is. He's a tough guy. He is an alpha male. And he'd had this burning love affair in his youth which wasn't tolerated, wasn't allowed, couldn't be spoken of. And the tragedy of that is what twists him into this sort of form of masculine toxicity which meets out a lot of angst and punishment on the world and hate on the world before the world could hate on him. And I think his sense of loneliness is exacerbated by that, his sense of jealousy and I don't, self-hatred, I don't know, I'd have to think about that actually, self-hatred. I don't think he's disgusted with himself. He has privacy, he has moments of recollection, he communes with his memory, but I don't think he knows any different. It's so hard for us to view it through today's lens. That's the trickiness of it, you know. It's a very complex question to answer because of that. We obviously look at it now as a queer text, you know, it's very much about. But then, you know, also the author himself existing with that, you know, that was very much part of his identity growing up in that experience. Although he's more the Peter figure in the film than the Phil figure as the author. But yeah, it's
so sorry.
Yeah, no, well, you're welcome. You're welcome. I wish we could speak more to it because that's very.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Welcome. Can you tell me what it was like working with Jesse on this project?
I mean, we became friends and first creative partners. So for me, that was the beginning of us getting together. So we want to do this continually over the course of our careers.
Can you speak about collaborating with Jane and what you admire about her?
I mean, ever since I was young and watched The Piano, she's been a filmmaker that I admired and wanted to be a part of one of her films. Her female performances are performances that have influenced me over my career. So, and still do, obviously. So to be a part of one of her films was always like, wow, wouldn't that be amazing if one day that could happen to me? Sorry.
It's fine. I mean, I'm interested in the kind of aesthetic marrying of Jane's work and her background of producing movies with powerful women and feminist characters in a Western, you know.
I'm sorry, I kind of missed Jane's background, yeah.
With a genre of a Western. You know, aesthetically, how does that marry?
I mean, have you seen the film?
Yes.
Okay, I feel like to me, she could do any kind of type of genre or look or whatever, but you know it has Jane's eye to it. So that, you know, Montana, we shot in New Zealand, and I don't know, I just feel like it's just her aesthetic. I feel like she could do, you know.
Well, because I think about the character of Phil and sort of the queer subtext.
Yeah.
And I think that fits interestingly into her canon of work with unorthodox, complicated characters.
Very much so. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to be in her films, because she shows the ugliest sides of people and also isn't afraid of, like, the darkness of women and all of it. So emotionally, she wants to show and bear, like, all those things in human beings.
You've talked about your own career, and so you were a child star. Do you have any aspirations for your kids to be child stars and follow in their mommy's footsteps?
I mean, no. I mean, listen, if they want to be actors, I'll support my children whatever they want to do. So, yeah.
Thank you, guys. We have to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Character in the film and his journey.
Yeah, we find Peter as he's living with his mother, who is a widow, and he's quite strange, and you know, you can't really put your finger on him. I believe for a great deal of the movie. You know, very much a loner, but happy in his seclusion. An intellectual, very curious about his whereabouts and his world, and he wants to become a doctor. And as he is his environment then moves into that of Phil Burbank and his brother, he is somewhat intimidated, by Phil and pushed under the thumb by him and all of his antics. And, Phil is quite the neurotic, narcissistic, cruel character. And he kind of uses my character as a pawn to get to my mother. It's very interesting. There's so many other layers to it. Like, there's this kind of ghostly character, Bronco Henry, which had brought Phil up to look after the land, and he tells me about him so much, and he realizes that Phil could be taking the space for Bronco Henry for me. So from something that starts very cruel and kind of torturous turns to something somewhat romantic, and a great friendship seems to be brewing, but you never really know, and I think it really keeps you on the edge of your seat and in a sense of impending doom. So it was a very cool character to play, that's for sure.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So tell me about revisiting the Western genre after doing Slow West.
Yeah, Slow West was definitely one of my favorite movies I ever did, but I would say the only similar thing to it is that it was shot in New Zealand. The rest of it, the theme, the vibe, the layers, the message overall is something so different to anything that Slow West expresses, but it was really beautiful to return to a Western for sure.
Thank you. Tell me, how did you get involved with the project?
I actually met Jane a couple of years before the shoot. We did a very small project together, a little commercial. And then one Christmas, it was in the supermarket doing my Christmas grocery shopping, and I looked down my phone and Jane Campion was calling, and she said she had read a novel and that she was going to make it into a film. Would I be interested in working on it with her? And I said, absolutely, I would love to. So, yeah, synchronicity, I guess, is how it happened.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
Christmas shopping, look for movies.
Hey.
That's awesome. And so tell me about some of the challenges working on this. I know COVID was one of them, obviously, but anything else you want to speak about?
Yeah, challenges. I guess shooting a movie that takes place over a year when you're only shooting for one summer. I guess that's a cinematographer's burden to bear. We also shot in New Zealand for a film that's set in Montana. That was a big location kind of workshop. And then shooting in studio as well, studio and location. It's always something that I think cinematographers worry about. Is it going to feel like you're in studio all of a sudden? But yeah, any of those challenges, I kind of love them. It's just like something to overcome. And what's amazing about Jane is she's not afraid of challenges. She goes straight. The thing we focus on first is the scariest thing. And yeah, I think it was a great approach because I think we overcame most of those.
And obviously this is an incredible cast. Can you speak about collaborating with all the actors?
Yeah, the cast has been such a dream to work with, and so lovely to see them all here in New York, especially actually Benedict, who was very much in character the whole time. So I think I only met Benedict today, Before that it was Phil Burbank, who's a bit of a prickly character. I don't know, I feel so blessed as a cinematographer to look down the lens and see for the very first time performances that you can just sense the world is going to really appreciate. That's a real treat and one of my favorite parts of the job, but you get to be the first person to see it, be in the room, see everyone working, and also see everyone working with Jane. That collaboration, see the actors working with Jane it's a real kind of masterclass in directing, relationships, craft,
Can you speak about how you got your start in cinematography and what inspired you to take this as your job, basically?
Well, actually, funny story, I was in media class in high school and my media teacher showed some of Jane's short films and kind of blew my mind as to what film making could be. And that got me really interested in film. But yeah, for me, I guess the initial in was that I loved writing and I love photography, and cinematography is just the mix of those two things. It's visual storytelling, which is yeah, that's what I love to do, tell stories with pictures. So yeah, very natural fit.
And you also worked on Zola, which came out this year as
Yes.
well. Can you reflect? I saw that. That was fantastic.
Thank
Can you
you.
reflect a little bit on that experience as well?
Yeah, well, very completely different experience. Two incredible kind of powerhouse directors, both with their own lived experience and, lived experience being a woman in the world. Zola was this Power of the Dog was like a marathon maybe, and Zola was a bit more of a sprint. Totally different energy, and I love Janixa just as much as I love Jane. Just women that have a story to tell and not afraid. I think they have that very much in common. Being unafraid and bold and uncompromising, unapologetic. Just inspirational directors, really, and wonderful people.
Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It was a fantastic experience. It's like, for me, a dream come true. I was a great fan of her before working with her, since An Angel on My Table. I've seen all her movies, and when her agent called me to find out if the rights were available, I nearly fell off my chair. Jane Campion, and since then it's been a very fantastic experience. And for a producer, when you have a vision at the beginning of a project, you read a book and you have a vision in your mind, and like 3 years later, it's better than the vision you had. And especially that we were scared at one point because we stopped right in the middle because of the pandemic, and the movie started again 4 months later. But it was a great moment to be able to look at all the dailies and take a breath and finish the movie. And I'm really, really happy about the Power of the Dog. I think if Thomas Savage was alive, he would be thrilled to see his story being brought to the screen with such passion and beauty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.